to go ahead and get started. I know that there will be other folks joining us, but I like to keep respectful of your time. I do appreciate you taking the time to join me today. I have been asked by the team leaders to speak about marketing, signage compliance, and so we're going to talk about that today, plus anything else that's on your mind that you'd like for me to address. And I like to have an interactive audience, as you know. So feel free to interject, ask questions, and it'll be a lot more fun that way. Okay, so we're going to talk about marketing compliance. And the first thing that I would like to say is, and this is with rare exception, is not happening. And that, did you know, and I'm sure you do, and remember from real estate school, that the broker has to approve all marketing that you put out there in the universe. That's kind of a daunting task for any one person. But I would say that 99.9% of agents are not getting approval for what they're putting out there to the general public. And that is a big, big no-no. And part of what I'm going to interject today are some experience that I've had over the years with agents who have not gotten approval for signs, for marketing. I can tell you from experience that I have gotten calls in the past from Vivian Chang at the Georgia Real Estate Commission, like taking action on websites that have been in in production for many, many years. So just because you may think everything is okay, at some point it may not be okay. I spent a lot of time with an agent here in the Decatur office on her website, and it just went on and on and on. And the Real Estate Commission picked it apart. Every single page of your website has to have the broker's name and contact information prominently on that site. Okay, so if you have a website, or if you are doing any kind of social media marketing, you always have to have the name of the brokerage, not me, the brokerage, and the contact information for that brokerage, because the whole premise of that is so that the general public can reach the broker if they want to reach the broker. Okay, that has to do with everything in real estate. It has to do with signage, has to do with advertising, anything that that may be seen by the general public has to have the brokerage name and phone number, so that that person that can get in touch with the broker. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about signage. And as you know, we have all kinds of signs all over Atlanta, the Atlanta metro area, for Keller Williams that are not in compliance. If you want to ask me what is compliant for a Keller Williams sign, I will tell you that the region and international requires that 25% of that sign be in red, and the broker's name and phone number must be larger than your name and phone number on your sign. I had an agent years ago with another company who decided they wanted to do their signage differently than that of the of what the brokerage signing required. And they spent a lot of money on round blue signs, which had nothing to do with the brokerage that they were with. And somebody reported them to the real estate commission. So just understand that if you have, it's always best to be very pleasant and well liked in this industry, because you never know who might have a grudge against you and turn you into the real estate commission on something like a sign or advertising, because we're self-policed. And I can tell you that if I get a call from the real estate commission on a signage issue or an advertising issue, it's because some other real estate agent has turned you in. So the Keller Williams sign must be 25% red, and the broker's name and phone number must be as large or larger than your name and phone number. So that's pretty much the premise on any type of advertising that you do. That signage also includes directionals. The directional also has to have your broker's name and phone number more prominent than your name and phone number. So when people ask me about that, I always say, the best case to me is to do the directional with the Keller Williams and then do a topper on top of that directional that has your name and phone number on there. So you're going to get the sign calls, and but you'll be in compliance with the Georgia Real Estate Commission. So are there any questions about signage? Barbara Dyer, you just brought up something in the chat. Do you want to speak to that, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you today, Tom?
I'm great, Barbara. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you, guys. Yeah, I did want to say that it is a violation of Article 12 of our Code of Ethics. And because we do police each other, we do turn each other in, and we will violate. We will check out the violations, and we will put sanctions on them too.
Right.
So be careful, guys. Pay attention to it. It is important to us as the Board of Realtors, riding with the grain.
That's right. And I know that, we at Keller Williams encourage you to be your brand, but you must be your brand within the brand. So, I've had people say, well, I don't like red. Well, to be blunt, I don't really care whether you like red or not. You're with the #1 company in the Southeast region, and you need to use that to your advantage. And I will tell you that, without naming names, I was with a brokerage for many years. They had a very well-known sign. It was all red, white, and blue. And over the years, everybody, all the agents thought they were being very clever by, changing their signage up to meet, what they wanted to accomplish in their marketing. But you would drive through neighborhoods back in the early days, and all you would see are these red, white, and blue signs everywhere in the in-town neighborhood, in the in-town market. And then suddenly they all started disappearing because everybody was doing their own thing. And what it made the consumer feel like is that brand's no longer important. So I would caution you to be very careful about that, because I've lived through that, and it's not fun. So any questions about that? Anybody have anything they'd like to bring up? I will say that I do appreciate those of you who send me your signs before you have them made and say, is this okay? And generally, I always have to send it back and say, the broker's name and phone number must be larger than your name and phone number on your sign in order to be compliant.
Tom, is that the same, or maybe we're going to get into it for things like postcards and actual print advertising? Is that something we're going to get into, or should I ask that question now?
Yes, we can get into that. Absolutely. So what would you like to know about postcards?
Well, I'm looking at a postcard I have here, and clearly Keller Williams Atlanta Midtown is bigger than my name, and it does have the office number before my number, and it does have a lot of red. I
Okay.
don't know if it's 25% red, and like this was done through our, through my team. I work with Markakis and the people up there. So
Okay.
presumed all along it's okay. I'm pretty sure it is based on what you're saying. So my question on to that would be, like, if I'm doing it, I was thinking of doing some print in our local newspaper, that's going to be black and white. Does that change the rules at all? Because you said some of it has to be red.
No, I mean, if it's black and white, it's black and white. We can't control that. But let me go back and address an issue with you regarding postcards, billboards, anything like that. So if you're advertising real property, so if your postcard is advertising a new listing, or if it's advertising sold listings, then all of that applies. Broker's name and phone number must be more prominent than your name and number. You can put that on the back side of the card. I don't really see a whole lot of billboards with advertising property. It's usually advertising services. So if you are advertising your services to the general public, then the broker's name and phone number doesn't have to be more prominent. It can be just there somewhere. It can be in small print, but that is only if you are advertising your service as a realtor. Okay, does that clarify your question?
Yes, it does. Yeah. So
Okay.
that's what these postcards are doing. They're, neighborhood postcards offering my service as a realtor. So, but I mean,
Yeah.
I still have the brokerage name and everything, but yeah.
Also, I would say be very, very careful of stock images. We just had an issue that I was trying to fight about a stock image that was given to one of our agents by their seller, and it was like a Beltline picture, and we got notified from this company in California of a copyright infringement, and they wanted, like, I don't know, $3,500. And so immediately the agent took it down once she discovered that there was a copyright infringement, but she still wound up having to pay them because I tried to rebuke it, and they they weren't going to have anything to do with that. So we had to settle with them, and I think we got a reduced rate on that. But be very, very careful. I've had that issue with websites where they take like a photograph of the city of a really pretty photograph of the city of Atlanta at night. You've got to be very careful about copyright infringement. Ultimately, you're going to have to redo your site if it's on your website. And this turns into quite an expense for an agent. You're just better off hiring a professional photographer and having your own photos done for anything that you're going to send out. If it's going to be on your website, if it's going to be on a postcard, if it's going to be on a billboard, whatever it is you're advertising, even if it's a social media post, you should use your own artwork because they are out there looking, and you don't want to get fined by some copyright infringement. And that happens more so than I would care to admit. So just be very careful about that and hire a professional photographer. What else did I want to tell you guys? We went over signage. Oh, social media posts. If you're advertising a new listing on social media, you must, the same rules apply. You've got to identify the broker's name and phone number. It must be prominent in your advertising, even if it's a social media post. So I know I'm on Facebook all the time, and I see all kinds of real estate promotions. I never see the broker's name and phone number. So be very, very careful about that, because at some point somebody may turn you in, and then I'm going to get a call from Vivian Chang at the Georgia Real Estate Commission, and there's going to be all kinds of issues around that. So save yourself a step and just do it the right way, and then you'll be okay. So what else do you guys have in terms of where we're at right now with marketing? Are you getting approval for your marketing before you send it out? Okay, well, just be careful, because if you send out something and it gets bounced back to the real estate commission, we are going to have an issue. So just forewarned is forearmed, so to speak.
Tom, I have a question.
Yes, Vicki.
When getting approval, who should we be sending this to? To you?
Yeah, well, yeah, that would be, I'm the broker, so yes.
Okay,
To approve it.
very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tom,
Yes.
when you say get approval for marketing, do you mean postcards, signage? Do you also mean social media posts? Like, I think of so many things as marketing.
Yeah, I mean, technically, anything you send out to the general public is supposed to be approved by your broker. Now, I don't have the bandwidth to approve every single social media post that an agent's going to send out, but I will say that part of the reason for this call is to educate you, so that you know that when you're sending something out, and if it's advertising real property, the broker's name and phone number needs to be prominent in that social media post. If you are advertising your services or anything relative to that, you just need to have it somewhere on your post, Keller Williams Realty, whatever office you're with, and the phone number for that office. It doesn't have to be very prominent if it's not property related.
Okay.
But I do, a lot of agents do send me their, before they have signs printed, they send them to me, postcards. I get billboards. I usually approve all of those if someone's going to do it. And I get a lot of those requests. Social media, I can't approve every social media post that goes out there, but I just want you to know what the rules are, so that you can put it out there and be in compliance with the Georgia Real Estate Commission and license law. Honestly, more license law than anything.
Hey, Tom, I've got a question. I'm wondering if you can touch on this kind of marketing.
Sure,
related-
Adam.
I'm seeing a lot of I'm going to call them the kids or the younger folks in the office. They're going into listings, not so much caravans, but more listings I'm seeing. And they're, kind of putting together these lifestyle reels or videos. And, I'd imagine you have to get approval from the listing agent, but is there anything else that they should be securing before they go ahead with filming inside of a house?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that has been a big issue where agents are just going into properties, filming the property, putting it out there as if it's their listing and not giving any credit or permission from, and actually, I would say the listing agent, but also the seller really has to give approval to the listing agent for someone other than the listing agent to film their property. It's really an invasion of privacy unless that seller gives permission to do so. And the listing agent really can have some input in that with the seller, but really, I would say we need the seller's approval for someone to come in and just film their house and put it out there to the general public. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I had to call a broker a couple of weeks ago because they used one of our agents' photographs, put together a flyer, sent it out to the neighborhood and said, this property is now under contract as if and it looked like he was the listing agent for the property. Oh, big no. And the broker agreed, and it was another Keller Williams agent, honestly. And the broker made sure that he knew that it can't happen. But you know what? Too little, too late. It was already out. It was already sent out. Oh. We got to be very, very careful about that. Any other questions or concerns about advertising? Business cards. Let's also talk a little bit about texting and email. I can't tell you how many texts I get every day. And it's just like, I have no idea who it's from. You know, I don't know about you guys, but I get spam texts recently a lot, like pretending to be like, I just got one over the weekend saying your Amazon account has been put on hold. Click here to clear it. Well, that's spam. And I got one from the UPS saying the same thing. And so you've got to be really careful. But I would tell you guys, it's very easy and very professional to set up a signature line on your text and on your emails with your name, your company name, and your contact information. So I would challenge you, if you haven't done that, to please do so, because it's, you know, we get a lot of communication during the day, and it's very, very frustrating. And it's really a pet peeve of mine when people send me texts and I have no idea who they are. I'm trying to really make sure that Vicki, when you call me, if I don't have your contact information, I can add you when I know it's you, because sometimes I get calls, it'll identify the caller, and sometimes I get calls that does not identify the caller. So I'm doing my part to add you so that I know when you call me who it is. You know, so for me as a broker, that's an important thing to do. With 1,600 agents, sometimes it takes a little time to get that accomplished. But I just want to make sure that I know who you are when you're calling and texting. And I would encourage you, if you don't have a signature line on your texts and on your emails, please set that up. It makes you look very professional, and it's going to set you apart from the rest of the pack out there, because I'd say most agents don't do that. Any questions about that? Okay, Vicki gave me a thumbs up, so we're good to go. anything you all are experiencing in the market right now that you might need some guidance on? Anything unusual happening? It's a very strange market. I know over the weekend, I got a lot of calls from people in the West Cobb office because they're still getting multiple offers and escalation clauses out there. And I've had to help a few agents in town recently with escalation clauses. So that's a really good sign, I think, of where we are. But then, we also have listings, and I get as many emails daily from agents on price reductions. So it's kind of wacky and kind of crazy. And so does anybody have anything that's happened recently that you'd like to talk about or share with this group or address with me?
Well, I can say I'm finding the same thing. I live in East Atlanta, and so I try to at least once a week go out and see the newest listings, sort of your typical listings, 3 or 4 bedrooms. I'm not going up much above that, nor am I looking for investing. And I saw 5 properties this weekend. 2 of them were under contract in like 5 minutes, or basically there were offers. And they were beautiful homes. But then there was another one that I went to that was my favorite, if I had to pick a favorite. And she's like, why isn't it selling? Why is it? And I'm like, I don't know. It's a good location. Everything about it was as good as some of the other ones. And I don't, it's not necessarily a discussion thing, but it is, I would agree with you that this market is just sort of wacky. Why this one is selling and not that one, I don't really know.
Were the prices comparable?
Yeah, because I try to stay in sort of, I'm saying average these days, say low 400s up to mid 600s, 2 or 3 bedrooms already renovated or more recently renovated. And they all, like I said, they weren't exactly the same. One was a little more historic than the others, but and the most expensive one to me was the most unappealing, but it was also much newer, a newer build. And that one was still sitting too. So I don't have an answer, but I am finding that it's just kind of weird.
Yeah. I know. I'm constantly getting questions from agents about that too. And it's like, I don't really have an answer because there could be a property, it's a nice property that's just sitting there. And then we've got another property getting multiple offers and escalation clauses and all kinds of things. Kind of crazy. I will say though, that earnest money issues are still continuing to be a problem. We are still having issues where buyers or sellers, I got a call this morning from a Buckhead agent, and the seller accepted an offer and 2 days later said, oh, I don't think I can sell right now. That's happening a lot between buyers and sellers, like backing out at the last minute, forfeiting their earnest money. I will, knock on wood, say that I haven't had any issues where earnest money has not been collected, which is a good thing. But a lot of disputes, we're writing an enormous amount of 10-day letters, guys, out of this office over earnest money disputes. And I will tell you that Eileen Smith, who does the 10-day letters, is very strict. We've got an issue right now where we have an agent that's on both sides, and she said that the seller refused to do repairs on an FHA property, but she doesn't have any proof that they had a conversation and that he said no. So everything's got to be in writing. Okay. we can't rely on a phone conversation and an agent telling us that this is what the seller said when we don't have anything in writing. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Had a little technical glitch there. So my whole point in telling you this story is to make sure that you put everything in writing. And again, that notice form that I love so much is such a great CYA on anything that you have a communication with someone on. Like, and it would have been really great had this agent followed up with a notice to the buyer that the seller has refused to do repairs. That way, we wouldn't be having this issue with trying to determine who's going to get this earnest money because the agent took care of documenting everything. So make sure you are documenting every conversation that you're having and put it in writing. All right, guys, is there anything else that you all want to talk about? I feel like I've covered what I want to cover. If there's anything that you want me to address, now's the time to do it. Or I'm going to say, have a great afternoon, and we'll see you on the next broker chat.
Hey, Tom, this is Barbara. I got something I wanted to make you guys aware of.
Hey, Barbara.
Hey, I sit on the National Association of Realtors Conventional Financing Committee. And something that we talked about last week is the fact that appraisal companies are using data collectors to do appraisals. And so I want to make you guys aware of it because it's a new issue. If you haven't experienced it yet, you may. And so when they're calling to schedule the appraisals, please make sure that they are actually appraisers and not data collectors.
Wow, well, that's the first one for me. I haven't heard that.
Yeah, we just
Does
talked
anyone
about
else
it.
experience that? I haven't, none, that's never been brought to my attention. So I don't know that it's hit the market yet here.
And it may not have hit here yet, but it is definitely hitting some of the other states.
So can you give us an example of what that call might look like, what to look out for with a call like that?
Well, it still will be one of the AMC companies that will, it's going to be one of the AMC companies that will still call you to schedule the appraisal. But what you should do is just make sure that they're not sending a data collector out to get the information on the property that is actually an appraiser, because the data collectors are not licensed. They haven't been to classes. They haven't taken the training, and they're not held to the regulation like the appraisers are. It's just a regular lay person, so to speak, that they're hiring to go in and do these appraisals.
So then we should ask for maybe do our appraisal license number or something along those lines from them.
Vicki, that probably will be a great thing.
That would be a really good idea to ask for. Who is the appraiser? What is their license number?
Yeah.
Yes. We want to make sure that we are protecting our homeowners, our buyers. We want to make sure we're protecting ourselves. So we don't want just anyone going into our client's home to collect data on something that is very secure. This is where we live. This is where we lay our head. This is where our children are. We want to make sure that the people that are coming in to do this work is licensed and we can hold them to some type of code.
Yeah, good to know. Well, I mean, you know, in my opinion, also, there's more to an appraisal, a good appraisal, than just data. I mean, especially where I live in College Park, I mean, the prices are all over the place. And so, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's a comp for a subject property. So I think that's a great, that's great information, Barbara. And so I think, the more we learn and the more we know, the more questions we can ask when we're dealing with, anyone who may be coming involved in the transaction.
Yes, I agree. So I just want to put it out there and please help me spread the word, guys, that when they call to schedule those appraisals, make sure they are actually appraisers. Like Vicki said, let's start getting those license numbers, and we want to make sure they're not just data collectors. Thank you, guys, and have a great day.
Thanks, Barbara. That was some great information. Anybody else have anything before we adjourn? All right, guys, we love your feedback. We would love to hear any kind of, Deborah is on the call. Hi, Deborah. We would love to hear anything that you guys would like to discuss during broker chat. If you can give us an idea of what that might look like, we would love to hear from you.
Thank you.
All right, y'all have a great day.
Thank you. That was great.
Thank you, Tom. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Tom.